All right, welcome back, students. Today we're doing lesson 2.2. We're dividing by one-digit divisors. A key, again, to division is making sure you know your multiplication facts. So if you need a multiplication chart, make sure you have that handy as we work through this. But if you're still using a multiplication chart, make sure you are studying those facts because it's going to be very key in 5th grade to be successful to know your multiplication facts. Today we're doing long division. Remember the steps that we talked about yesterday. Does McDonald's sell cheeseburgers? So we're going to start with divide, then you're going to multiply, subtract those numbers, then compare them to see if the answer to your subtraction problem is smaller than your divisor, and then you go ahead and bring down the next number. So again, we're using does McDonald's sell cheeseburgers? You can also use dad, mom, sister, cousin, brother. If you use that acronym, that's fine. In lesson 2.2, we're going to go ahead and start here. We're dividing 2,754 by 9. As we work through, again, we need to make sure we know our multiplication facts. So we're trying to see how many times 9 goes into each of these numbers. So we first start in the thousands place here with the 2. 9 does not go into 2, so we're going to go ahead and place an X there. And then we're going to treat this as it is 27. So how many times does 9 go into 27? Well, 9 goes into 27 3 times. So then we multiply. 9 times 3 gives us that 27. And then we go ahead and subtract. So next step, we subtract. 27 minus 27 is 0. We checked that. The 0 is smaller than 9, so we're able then to move on. We go ahead and bring down the 5. So we're starting all back over again. Then we check, how many times does 9 go into 5? Well, nothing times 9 gives me an answer smaller than 5. So 9 will not go into 5. So we're going to place a 0 up top because 9 goes into 0 times, or 9 goes into 5 0 times. We multiply that, we get 0. We go ahead and subtract. The 5 then comes down. Again, 5 is smaller than 9, so we can move on. We go ahead and bring down the 4. And we start over. 9 goes into 54 6 times, because 9 times 6 is 54. When I subtract, I get an answer of 0. I have nothing remaining, so my answer is 306. You do not have to write remainder 0. Just leave it as the whole number 306. You have also estimation. If you wanted to estimate prior to solving, you could round the 2,754. I would round it to the hundreds place to give you 2,700. And the difference is when you round with numbers here, you have to round those first two numbers to something that 9 will go into. So 2,700, because 9 goes into 27, that's how they got that estimate there. We will not be estimating, but it is good to talk about how to estimate with division. On the next page, we want to talk about how you can check once you're done. You can always check division by using multiplication. And it is best that we maybe talk about the parts of a division problem. So within the division problem, we have your divisor that is doing the dividing. So your divisor is the number out front. The dividend is the number on the inside. It is the number being divided. So that's called the dividend. Your answer is called the quotient. And if you have anything left, that is called the remainder. That remainder then goes up outside of the number here, outside of your quotient. Okay, so those are the parts. You have the dividend, which is the inside number. It's the number being divided. The divisor is the number that's doing the dividing. You have the quotient, which is your answer, and if you have anything left over, that is called the remainder. Now, as we go back to our problem here, we have a problem 614 divided by 6, and we get an answer of 102 remainder 2. We can always check a division problem by simply taking your quotient multiplied by the divisor. And if there is anything remaining, you will add your remainder. So we have an answer of 102. We're going to multiply that by 6. So we get 12. 6 times 0 is 0, plus 1 would be 1. 6 times 1 equals 6. You then add what the remainder was. The remainder was 2. So we add that to our answer. And we get an answer of 614, which is exactly what our dividend was. Now, we say that we want to be able to check it using multiplication because if you wanted to try to check this division problem, 614 divided by 6 with a calculator, you're going to get 102 with some decimals. In this case, you're going to get 102.3333 repeating because a calculator is not going to put the remainder. It's going to turn it into a decimal, which is what we'll learn in later chapters. But for this lesson, if you wanted to check your answer to see if you were correct, just simply take the quotient and multiply it by the divisor and then add the remainder. This is not a requirement. You do not have to check on your homework, but if you are looking to see if you're correct or not, that is a good way to check to see if your answer is correct. As we move down to the bottom, again, they want to show you that you can use quotient times divisor and then add the remainder, and that will equal your dividend. So in this problem, we actually don't know what the dividend is. They're using algebra, so we're using a letter to represent something that we don't know. Well, we don't know what the dividend is here. So we just simply take quotient times divisor, and we get 7 times 3 is 21, 7 times 6 is 42, plus 2, 44. So our divisor, or excuse me, our dividend is 441. 441. Because there was no remainder, we don't have to add anything. On part B, you have 752 divided by 6 is 125 with a remainder that we don't know. In order to solve this, we're going to take divisor times the quotient, and then we have to figure out what we need to add to get our dividend, because we always add remainder. So we'd solve by taking 125, multiply it by 6. 6 times 5 is 30. Six times 2 is 12, plus 3 gives me 15, carry my 1. And 6 times 1 is 6, plus 1 equals 7. We have an answer of 750. We want an answer of 752. So we know that our remainder must be 2, because if I add 2 to that, I would get 752. So our answer, again, then, is 125 remainder 2. So again, they're using some algebra to get you to process this right here, which is dividend divided by divisor, gives us our quotient, and we would have a remainder left over. So we can always check this by taking quotient times divisor plus the remainder, and that will always give you your dividend, guys. On the next examples here, we'll work through each one of these. It does say check. You can check it on your own if you would like. We're not going to go ahead and spend any time checking this, but you know, again, you can take quotient times divisor plus any remainder, and that will give you your dividend. So let's go ahead and start here. 8 is trying to go into 624, so we say 624 divided by 8. 8 will not go into 6. Nothing times 8 gives me an answer less than 6, so we say that it does not go into it. Now we're looking at 62. 8 goes into 62 7 times, because 7 times 8 equals 56. So we go ahead and subtract. 62 minus 56. You can either start at 56 and count up. You can already know that in your head, or you can use the borrowing method where you cross off the 6, make it a 5, and make the 2 a 12. 12 minus 6 equals 6. 5 minus 5 is 0. I'm not going to go ahead and put a 0 there, but we know that's going to be 0. 6 is smaller than 8. So we can then move on. If that 6 were a number that was larger than 8, then I need to go back up and change my 7 to a larger number. But since it's smaller, that's as close as we're going to get. I then bring down the 4. Now we have a number 64. You have to ask yourself, 8 times what gets me 64 or as close to 64 without going over? 8 times 8 equals 64. 8 times 8, we multiply it, we get 64. We then subtract. We have no numbers left to bring down, so our answer here is just 78. Since we have a remainder of 0, we do not have to write remainder 0. On number 2, 4 goes into 3 0 times. You can put an X. You could also put a 0 there. Some students choose to just put a 0 there, but I do not want you to leave it blank. I want you to make sure that every number has a digit or something above it. So we use an X as a placeholder here. Now we look at it as 32. 4 goes into 32 8 times. 4 times 8 is 32. We go ahead and subtract, and we get 0. We bring the next number down, which is a 2, and we start over. 4 goes into 2 0 times. Not 2 into 4, 4 into 2. Well, 4 is bigger, so it's going to go in 0 times. Now, you have two options. Some students choose to go ahead and multiply. 4 times 0 is 0, and subtract, and you still get 2, and then they would bring the next number down. You are also allowed, once you place the 0 up top, you may bring the next number down right beside it, because you're still going to get 20 either way that you do it. Just like we had here, and we bring the 0 down, you're still going to get 20. But the key is to make sure you place that 0 up top. When that number does not go in, you must put 0 up there as a placeholder. 4 now goes into 20 5 times, because 4 times 5 is 20. When I subtract, I get a remainder of 0. 805 is our answer. And again, if we wanted to check, we would take 805 and multiply it by 4, and we would get 3,220 as our answer. As we look at number 3, knowing that 4 is our divisor and it's an even number, but our dividend is an odd number, it ends in a 7, we know we're going to have a remainder in this problem. So as we work through this, remember, we're probably going to end up with a remainder at the end. 4 goes into 1 0 times, so I place my X. And now I ask myself, how many times does 4 go into 10? 4 goes into 10 2 times, because 4 times 2 is 8, and that is as close to 10 as I can get without going over. The next step after we multiply is to subtract. 10 minus 8 equals 2. 2 is smaller than 4, so I get to move on. We bring the next number down. And it's 22. We start all back over. 4 times what number gets me close to 22 without going over? Well, that would be 5. 4 times 5 is 20, and that's as close as we're going to get to 22. So we subtract, and we get 2. We bring the next number down, and we have 27. 4 times 5 was 20. That's going to be too low. We can get closer. 4 times 6 is 24. And then I subtract. I'm going to go ahead and change colors here because I ran into the wording. But 27 minus 24 equals 3. And we have nothing left to bring down, so that's going to be our remainder. Remainder 3. Our answer is 256, remainder 3. If we wanted to check, we would take 256 times 4 plus 3, and we would get the 1027 as our answer. Now, go ahead and press pause, and I want you to try numbers 4, 5, 6, and 7. When you complete those, go ahead and hit play again, and I'll reveal the answers to those problems. Now, go ahead and check your work to see if you got those correct. Anything that you made a mistake on, you can look at the work and see what you need to fix. Now that we've completed this lesson here, tonight for homework, you're going to solve questions 2, 3, and 4, and 8 and 9 on the front. So 2, 3, 4, 8, and 9 on the front, and then you're also going to go ahead and complete all of the back for homework tonight. If you guys have any questions, please email or message Mrs. Laudick or I. Great job today. Keep working hard. Have a good day.